Welcome to the Crack House Chronicles, your favorite true crime podcast. I am Donnie, and with me is a man that wants everyone to know that every bar is a swim-up bar if you're drunk enough. It's Dale.
Got to get a little deep for that, though.
Oh, yeah.
It usually is pretty deep in there anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, how you feeling, man?
I'm on the mend. I'm not 100%, but I'm a lot better than I was this time last week,
That's
man.
good. We're glad you're back.
Golly, it's some rough stuff.
I'm telling you. And
Sinus infection.
We kept waiting, and then you just never beat it, did you?
Nope, sinus infection, upper respiratory junk going on, coughing. Yeah, just had to crud, man.
Well, we're glad you're on the mend.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm definitely better than I was.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Blowing my nose a lot and coughing and hacking.
Coughing and hacking.
But yeah, it's all good now.
Well, good.
Well, an upswing. What's going on with you?
Well, same old, man.
Yeah, same old, same old. You got any good shout outs anybody want to mention before we get going?
Yeah.
Good.
Hey, look at that. I'd like to give a big old shout out. We have a brand new Apple Podcast 5-star review, and this comes from, I guess it's Lowry. We're gonna say Lowry? No, what did it say? It's LOWRI 520. So Lowry 520.
We'll go with that.
It's kind of like a Lowrider 420, but not really. Anyway, it says fantastic! Exclamation point. So you get that part right. You guys are awesome. I look forward to your next episode every week. And I live in Asheville.
Well,
So
that's just right up the road.
Little hometown love here a little bit. Well, about an hour up the road, wasn't it?
Yeah, about an hour up the road.
Hour. Good hour.
Yeah, we measure everything in our distance by time.
That's right.
How long it takes to get there.
Southern folks. How far is it? Man, about 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, 3 hours, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, miles, no idea.
Just how long it takes.
Couldn't tell you. Yeah. What does it matter? That's what matters, right?
Yeah, the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How long is it going to take me to get there? That's whether I'm going or not.
That's right, man.
You going to go? I don't know. How long does it take to get there?
It takes about 5 minutes. So you good.
Oh, I'm in, yeah.
Yeah. Man, I want to remind everybody they want to be like Lowry. They can go to Apple Podcast and leave a 5-star and write something in the box, and I'll tell you, that really helps a lot.
Yes, it does.
It does. I mean, it helps that algorithm thing going on there with Apple, and
It kind of helps the ego too, doesn't it?
it really does. Makes me feel good. So
Yeah.
I'm like, we got a new Apple 5-star deal.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
And we want to give a quick shout out to Chris Wanick. He jumped on our little voicemail thing and give us a little test run for us, and we checked that out. That's really cool. So if you guys want to do that, you can go over. And I think we got the link tree up, and you can just go over to the website, and it's just right there. Just click it and talk.
Yep. Leave us a voicemail, and we'll put it on the episodes.
Yeah, leave us something cool. We'll put it up there.
Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like about us.
Yeah, or don't.
Or something. All right, Dale, we're going to get going this episode because today we're talking about a lady by the name of Amanda Teresa Stavik.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we're going up to Bellingham, Washington State.
Right. She went by Mandy, so that's what we'll be referring to from here on.
Mandy. Pretty cool name.
Yeah.
But just a little bit of background on Mandy Stavik. Dale, she was born on April the 16th, 1971, there in Bellingham, Washington. And her parents are Glenn and Mary Stavik.
Mm-hmm.
And Mandy also had 3 siblings. Their names were Lee, Molly, and Brent. Now, it wasn't long after Mandy was born, the family, they moved to Palmer, Alaska.
All right, then.
Never could figure out why they moved to Alaska, but,
I heard that song, North to Alaska.
Could be, yeah. But, Alaska's not far from Washington, so I guess, let's just move to Alaska.
Yep. Wonder how long it takes to get there.
Yeah, it'd probably take longer than it does to Asheville, but
Okay.
they moved to Palmer, Alaska.
All right.
And it's just a little small community there, and it had less than 3,000 residents at the time.
Reckon it's cold over here.
I would say so, yeah, in the wintertime, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I ain't going.
But they were just living life up there, and when Mandy was about 4 years old, they had something tragic happened pretty bad to them.
Not pretty something. It's really tragic.
Yeah. Mandy's older brother, Brent, he was killed.
Yeah. He was 17 at the time.
Yes. And what happened was he was bow hunting there at Fort Richardson. This is a U.S. Army base there in Alaska.
Right.
And Brent had actually gotten permission to go hunting on this land that was there at Fort Richardson. And he went out there alone. This was in 1975. And he was later found. He had 17 .22 caliber bullets in his back and his head.
17?
17 bullets, 22 caliber.
Now, wait a minute. Is this like supposed to be a hunting accident or somebody, or what's up with this?
They do not know. This murder is still unsolved today.
Wow.
To this very day, it is unsolved.
So I'm thinking, if it's a hunting accident, I ain't buying that for a second.
No, because you don't shoot an animal 17 times to kill it.
Well, if you do, it better be a damn big one.
Yeah.
I mean, it don't even make sense.
With a 22, though, that's not a deer hunting caliber.
No, definitely not.
That's just squirrel rifle.
Squirrel. I mean, it'll do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
But not like you're not doing large animal hunting.
Bear or deer or nothing.
No, you want someone's going to knock it down. You're not trying that. And, and even if it was something that, you wouldn't shoot them 17 times.
No, exactly.
You shoot them if they're still kicking when you get there. You just kind of put them out.
But it's still unsolved, and there's some theories going on about that. They say that maybe they thought he was somebody that wasn't supposed to be there, and somebody took him out.
Well, that don't make sense either, because if it's a
threat,
it's a threat. That someone would be eligible to take one out would not be shooting them with 22.
Very true. It would be a sniper rifle
or something.
Yeah.
Or a pistol of a larger caliber or a whole different rifle.
But
I would think.
But nonetheless, he was shot 17 times. So it was clearly a murder.
Now, didn't you say you looked up and you couldn't really find much on that?
You can't find much on his case.
Even in newspapers.com or nothing?
No. Yeah, and there's nothing much on him.
Wow, that's shocking.
Yeah, but the family, after his murder, they stayed there in Alaska for several years, trying to find out what happened. But they couldn't find anything.
I wonder if he had been hunting there before, or if we know anything about that.
Well, they said people did ask permissions to go hunting on this property.
Right, yeah, I know that you said that, that was a thing they did, and there was hunting available. You just had to have permission and go it the right way. But yeah. I'd wonder if he or, maybe his dad or something had ever been there before, or just, I don't know, this is odd.
Very odd. But it's still unsolved today. I'd love to do a case on this, but we're talking about his sister Mandy, so
we'll get back to that if we can find anything. But man, what a shock.
Yeah, but it wasn't long after this, Mandy's parents, Glenn and Mary, they were divorced. And Glenn, Mandy's dad, he went on to marry another woman and have more kids with her.
So we don't really know what happened here.
No, we don't.
I was wondering if it had something to do with that. I'm sure that could be pretty stressful.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. But when Mandy was in the 7th grade, around 12 years old, her and her mom and her other siblings, Lee and Molly, they moved back to Washington State at Whatcom County. That's where they moved back to.
Okay.
And this is where they settled in the small town of Acme.
What?
Yeah, Acme, Washington.
Wait a minute. Like in where the Coyote buys all his products, Acme?
Yeah, Acme.
Whoa, that's got to be cool.
Yeah, and the first time I ever studied this case and read that, I was like, yeah, this is Roadrunner Coyote territory.
Rocket launchers and cannons and all that mess.
Or the piano that falls from the sky.
Right.
But they settled in around this little town of Acme, and it was a smaller town than what Palmer, Alaska was. It had a population of around 300 people.
Yeah, that's small.
Very small. And this small town, everyone knew everyone. So this was what Mandy's mom, Mary, loved. She loved the countryside and just the rural area.
Yeah.
So this was just a good fit for everybody.
She was really rural.
Yes.
Dang, that's the hardest word to say.
Rural, like rural king up here.
Yeah, do you leave the extra R out?
If you want to.
Okay.
But after Mandy had finished middle school, she went on to attend Mount Baker High School.
Mm-hmm.
This is in a nearby town of Deming, Washington. And she just fit right in. She was loving school.
Okay.
And she loved it so much that she was participating in every extracurricular activity that she possibly could.
Well, heck, how many people's in the school? Like 6? I mean, if ain't but 300 in the whole town. Well, this is in a different town.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think the school had about 300 or 400 students. But, it was a pretty big school. But she was playing in every sport. She played in the band. She played the clarinet, flute, and saxophone.
Good gracious.
Yeah, in multiple academic activities. And like I said, one of her biggest hobbies was playing sports.
Yeah, she's very athletic.
Yes, and there wasn't a sport that she didn't play, and even done cheerleading. And it was one time that I'd read on something she tried out for the basketball team, Dale, and didn't make the team.
Right.
And this devastated her.
Yeah, because she ain't used to that.
And she actually that summer participated in a basketball camp, improved her skills, and went back the next year and made the team. So that's
putting in the work, man.
That's dedication.
Yes.
Yeah. So Mandy was up and
she didn't sit down and cry about it, did she?
No.
She went to work.
She knew what she had to do to make the team.
Right.
Yeah, and
strong girl.
Improved herself. But Mandy, she was described as being overall compassionate and a committed person, and everyone just adored her. And in 1988, when Mandy was 17 years old, they had something else strike the family.
What?
Something more tragic. You know, we mentioned earlier that Mandy's father, Glenn, had remarried.
Right.
And
had some more kids.
Yeah. But one of his kids, a teenage son named Spencer, who was Mandy's stepbrother, he was involved in a boating accident on the Kenai River there in Alaska. And he drowned.
My God. You need to get out of Alaska.
Yeah.
It's treacherous.
So Mandy's dad had lost 2 kids, man. That's tragic. And Mandy had lost 2 siblings.
Right.
Very tragic.
Very. By the time she was 17.
Yeah. But it hadn't been reported how close the step siblings were, but it's still, bad enough.
Right.
Yeah. But the following spring, you know, Mandy graduated from high school there, and she had plans to go on to the university and further her education. And what she was doing was hoping to become a commercial pilot. She was wanting to fly an airplane.
Wow.
And she was actually accepted into Central Washington University in Ellensburg, Washington. And that's about a 3-hour drive from her hometown in Acme.
There you go.
And there she began studying in the fall of 1989. And soon after she started school, she had a little bit of a career change. She decided she didn't want to fly an airplane anymore. Didn't think that was what she wanted to do. She was just keeping her options open for other career paths.
Yeah. Well, you know, it all sounds fun to you. You got to do it. But it's probably a little intimidating, I would think.
But she was also learning Japanese.
Good gracious.
She had a roommate who was Japanese. Her name was Yoko, and she moved to the U.S. from Japan. But Mandy was in turn helping her with her English.
That'd be probably a good way to learn.
It really would. Have a roommate that
you're with all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Teach you stuff.
Yeah. And vice versa.
But Yoko and Mandy, they became good friends and hit it off pretty quick. And it came time for Thanksgiving of 1989. So that November, Mandy asked her roommate, Yoko, to come home with her to spend the Thanksgiving holidays with them.
That's cool.
And, you know, Thanksgiving that year fell on Thursday, November the 23rd.
Okay.
And they all had a good time together, a good Thanksgiving. And now the next day, this is Black Friday.
Black Friday, man.
November the 24th, Mandy decided to show Yoko her favorite running trails around the area because, you know, she was very athletic. She loved to run. So they just took a walk around the area, and Mandy was just showing her around.
That's cool. Get out of the house.
Yeah, and they went back home, and I think it was reported that later that evening, her and Yoko were supposed to go back into Bellingham and meet some friends and hang out for a while.
Yeah, they was going to the movies.
Yeah, I think they were going to hang out with a couple guys. One of them was Brad Gorman, and the other one was Tom Bass.
Yes.
That they were going to hang out. They were just all good friends. But before all that took place, Mandy was going to go for a run.
Yeah, because I guess that walk wasn't good enough.
No, because she's very athletic and has to get a run in. So she asked her mom, Mary, if she wanted to go with her.
Right, because she usually went and rode her bike along with it.
Yeah.
And it's like a 5-mile run.
So that's what Mandy was going to do, but her mom, Mary, didn't want to go because they had company in for Thanksgiving. And,
I think her sister was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she just wanted to hang out at home, but Mandy went anyway and took their German Shepherd with them. Her name was Kyra.
Yeah.
And Kyra would just run along with her and hang out, just run the trail and come back home.
Better than me. I'm like 5 miles. I'm right here.
Yeah.
I'll see you when you get back.
So Mandy went with Kyra, and they just went out for the run.
Right.
Because, you know, she felt safe because this is a tight-knit community. You know, everybody knew everyone.
Right, and this is kind of on a dead-end road where they live, too, and they had a real long driveway, like 100 yards or whatever, maybe 2, I don't know. But they had a couple acres there on the end of this dead-end road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm not sure how long the road is, but there weren't very many houses on the road either. Like what, 7, 10 houses or something?
Yeah, and the very spacious. Everybody there
it had acreage.
Yes, a lot of land
Yeah.
for every house. So, there wasn't no houses on top of each other, which is pretty nice.
Yes.
So Mandy went out on a run, and she had Kyra with her. And later that evening, Mandy's older brother returned home from a friend's house and found out that Mandy hadn't gotten home yet. And he told his mom, Mary, that it was strange because he had seen her running back home earlier while he was at a friend's house, and said that she jogged by the property, which was only a few minutes jog away from their house.
Wow.
And Mandy almost always took the same route home.
Right.
So they, I guess, began to wonder why she hadn't made it back yet.
Yeah, where's she at?
Especially since she hadn't got home before her brother Lee did. And Lee also mentioned that a few minutes before seeing her jog by, she ran by again, but in the opposite direction. So he figured that she was just trying to get in some more exercise. He didn't think nothing about it because he just saw her running.
Right.
And just assumed that she would be back in time that evening. They were going out.
Yeah.
But it wasn't to be. That evening, like I said, Mandy had plans to take Yoko into Bellingham to hang out with Brad and Tom.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't understand why she hadn't come home yet.
Where's she at?
Mm-hmm. And this run that she usually went on usually took about 45 minutes. But there were over 2 hours had gone by and Mandy hadn't come home. So
but guess who did come home?
Kyra came home without her.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is when Mary called the sheriff's department to report what had happened. Because at that point, they just, they figured something bad had happened.
Well, I mean, as much stuff as they've been through already.
Yeah.
You're going to be on edge anyway.
But, Mandy was 18 at the time, but the police got on it pretty quick. And Mary called neighbors and other residents around the community that she knew just to ask if anybody had seen Mandy. And Mary, her job there she was a school bus driver. So she
knew everybody, huh?
She did.
And their kids. So.
Mm-hmm. So this helped a lot, I would think.
Yeah.
Her trying to get in touch with people to find out what was going on. So the whole town of Acme, they got together and they were looking, just hoping to find Mandy somewhere. Maybe she got hurt or...
Yeah, fell and broke her ankle or something.
Mm-hmm. But while Mandy was on her run, she was listening to her music on her Walkman. And at the time, she was wearing a light-colored sweatshirt with light green sweatpants and running shoes. So everybody knew exactly what they were looking for.
Right.
And the whole town of Acme, they continued to search for Mandy. And the police, they began questioning people close to her.
Right.
And at the time, Mandy, she did have an on, again, and off boyfriend.
Yeah.
And his name was Rick Zender.
Yeah, they had been on and off, like, they think they were each other's first love, actually. They went back that far, and then they would kind of split up and then find their way back to each other and stuff. And even he was the one who actually, they went to the same college, right? He was there, and then they broke up before Mandy actually went to college, but they were at the same school.
Mm-hmm.
So he's actually the one who gave her and Yoko a ride home.
That's right.
From college for the Thanksgiving weekend.
That's right. But he jumped in right quick, and they started asking him about what their relationship was like, and they cleared him pretty quick because he was very helpful.
Yeah,
he
knew that they always going to go start in close and move the way out.
Mm-hmm.
And he figured, I'm going to get right in here and give them what they need so they can move on.
Yeah, but he was pretty terrified to discover that something might have happened to Mandy, and he just done whatever he could to help bring her back.
Right.
The day after Mandy went missing, she wasn't found at all.
Still no sign of her.
No, but they did find her sweatpants that day. And the sweatpants weren't originally believed to be Mandy's because they were dirty and had some holes in them.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of weird because I did see something one time where they said that these weren't her pants, and then there's like another one where it says they were her pants. So I was being confused on this.
I think they didn't recognize the pants because they were dirty and had holes in them and stuff. Because they said Mandy would never wear ripped or old pants like that.
Right.
But the sweatpants they found were dirty and they had semen on them, semen stains. And that's semen didn't match any of the people who'd already been questioned.
Now, well, how do they know that?
I don't know.
That's weird.
And at the time, all this going down, CODIS.
It wasn't even a thing yet.
It wasn't. It was invented the following year. So, they really didn't...
This is in the early ages of DNA.
Yeah, this was like in the footsteps of DNA matching and stuff.
Right.
Yeah. But they did take this DNA and they did store it, and they did keep it. Because one of the detectives, he just got back to Washington. He'd been in Washington, D.C., taking a class on DNA.
Yeah, Quantico.
Yeah. So he actually came back and was helping with this case and preserved all this DNA.
Right. It's crazy on the timing on that, isn't it?
Very, very crazy. And they also had expert trackers come in to follow Mandy's route by foot, and they were able to find her tracks. And they also found Kyra's tracks. The dog found her tracks next to hers. And Dale, what's crazy, both tracks stopped at the same place. So these trackers, they felt like she had been abducted.
Sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah, or maybe got into a car, because her tracks just wouldn't have stopped like that.
Right.
And there was no sign of a struggle where the tracks had ended. So they sort of pointed to the possibility that she had willingly got into a vehicle, and likely with someone that she knew. And it was 3 days after Mandy disappeared, they expanded their search down the Nooksack River.
It's a weird name.
It is. Now, this Nooksack River is 75 miles long, and it runs across northern Washington state. And part of the river was next to Mandy's favorite running trail. So they kind of believed it was possible she could have ended up in that river.
Right.
And some volunteer firemen, they took a boat down this river a few miles to see if they could spot anything.
So this is a nice-sized river, sounds like.
Yeah. So they went down this river a few miles, and one of the volunteers noticed something. And as they got closer, they realized that it was a body laying face down in the river. And this body was being held in the river by a tree branch.
Yeah, in like knee-deep water.
Yeah. And the body was a young woman, and she was completely nude except for her socks and running shoes. And they quickly realized that the running shoes matched Mandy's description.
Right.
And when they turned her over and looked at her face, they knew it was Mandy Stavik.
Right. Sad.
Yeah.
And they said that the water is so cold, they said it preserved her very well. Looked like she wasn't, just looked like she was just peacefully laying there.
Yeah.
So it was crazy.
Yeah. And as investigators, they began examining Mandy's body, they couldn't immediately tell how she had died.
She definitely didn't have 17-22 shots.
No.
Right.
But like I said, the water was knee deep.
So that's odd too, right?
Very odd, because if she wanted to go for a swim, the water was so cold, that wouldn't have happened.
Well, she's going to go swim. She wasn't going to just go in her tennis shoes.
No. But the water being knee deep, she could have stood up in that water.
Oh yeah, she wouldn't have drowned. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Right.
But they did observe some light scratches on her body, as if she had just ran through some kind of thorned plants or something, or bushes.
Right.
And the sheriffs and detectives, they wanted to make sure that they informed Mandy and Mandy's family immediately of what they had found.
Well, you don't want to hear it from someone else.
No, you want to hear it straight from the police.
The source, yeah.
So this was bad news for the family.
So this makes 3 siblings.
3 Stavik kids. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. That had died. But this was the second for Mandy's mom, Mary, that had been murdered.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't even imagine, dude.
No.
Mm-mm.
Wow.
So the day after Mandy was found, the medical examiner began working on Mandy, trying to find out exactly what happened. And this is when they found a 3-inch long injury on her head that had been bleeding internally. But it didn't contribute to her death and wouldn't have killed her on its own. And strangely enough, Mandy's official cause of death was ruled as a drowning. So she had asphyxiated in that river. So this didn't make any sense, because, again, the river was shallow, and the only thing that made sense was that Mandy was hit in the head, which caused her to be knocked out or unconscious.
Right.
And she then fell into the river, or was put in that river.
Put in the river face down. Yeah. And when we were listening to this and you were talking about those scratches, they said, once the examiner started looking at those scratches were really parallel I was going to say tears, but not really tears. I guess scratches, but they were kind of, some of them were a little deeper, I guess. But they said it was from running through like blackberry bushes,
thorny bushes or something. Yeah.
And well, they kept saying blackberry. So, and then they have big thorns on them if you have blackberry bushes, you know.
Oh yeah.
But they were parallel, which means it showed that she was like running through them.
Golly.
So you would think whatever happened, and then she got away from whatever and just took off running, trying to get away, and then maybe got hit in the head.
Mm-hmm.
Either that or was hit in the head. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to kind of figure out what's going on here, and then, but we'll get more into it.
Yeah. But what was bad too, since Mandy had been found in the water, a lot of the DNA on her body was pretty much gone, washed away.
Well, yeah, you have that.
And the only thing they could get was some stuff under her fingernails, and they did find some semen in her too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it said, you know, the fellow who just done the DNA stuff, you know, is like his biggest thing was we got to get her out before we lose everything.
Yeah.
And how to get her out without washing everything out.
He had that forethought from coming from that class, learning that stuff, yeah. But like we said, you know, DNA was a new thing, and it wasn't often collected in cases before the 1990s.
Right.
But they did take the DNA from her body, and since the FBI had gotten involved, they were really the only ones who took DNA at the time. And the FBI was able to create a DNA profile for Mandy, so they knew whether or not they'd found anything in, as far as the DNA goes, as a potential suspect. And the medical examiner was also able to determine that Mandy was sexually assaulted before she was killed. And they also found that other than Mandy's own DNA, there was also an unknown male's DNA on her body. Again, they couldn't...
Well, or in her body.
Yeah, they couldn't find a match for it.
Right. Well, I mean, they got... At this point, they don't really have no DNA to match to nothing. I mean, you know what I mean? They don't. It's not like you don't have CODIS or nothing. You can't go run it. So you're just going to have to... Basically, they have this sample, and then that's all they got.
Just hang on to it, and hopefully technology catches up.
Yeah, or something.
Yeah. Hopefully they can do something with it later.
Basically, they're just taking samples, I guess.
Yeah. But the investigators, they felt strong that foul play was involved in Mandy's case.
You think?
Yeah, and they even continued to question neighbors and other residents in the area, hoping they could get some information.
Right. And that's what we were talking, you know, about. If she was like, so, I don't know, we're trying to put it together in the head what you think happened. Like, was she running and somebody pulls up in a car and then points a gun or something to make her get in the car and then is sexually assaulted? And then maybe she breaks free and takes off running? And that's where I was wondering, you know, if the perpetrator either chased her down and hit her in the head and did that, or because I thought maybe once, you know, she could have like run into a limb or something and knocked herself out and fell in, but I don't think that happened.
Yeah.
When we first got into it, I was like, well, maybe that's possible, but yeah.
And another crazy note too that we really didn't mention was Kyra, the dog. When she got home, she was kind of cowling down, had her tail between her legs.
Yeah, bad. Like she was a little traumatized.
Yeah.
And then had a lot of sand on her.
Yeah,
From the
river silt and stuff. Yeah.
So I don't know. So something happened.
Yeah, I don't know if Mandy's perpetrator hit the dog, kicked the dog or something.
Maybe kick in the ditch or whatever and pull a gun. I would think that whoever it is had a gun or something, because he didn't definitely just chase her down.
Yeah,
I mean, because that's what she does. But of course, you know, if her brother had saw her close to home, I mean, she's probably done run almost 5 miles.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know what her limit was, but
you know, her running back the other way, maybe she was running from this whoever
exactly at that time. That's what I was thinking. You know, because she's running her regular route, and you look up and she's running back the other way. You're like, wait, what the? But if she was running away, she wouldn't. She would just have on shoes, wouldn't she?
You think? Yeah.
I don't know. We kind of getting in the weeds. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're getting out there. But anyway,
Well, it's just kind of. It's baffling.
It is baffling. But we're going to get into it a little bit more.
Okay. I didn't mean to get a sidetrack.
Now, other than Mandy's brother Lee, the only other person to have seen Mandy running was a guy by the name of Paul Malik, and he was one of their neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Paul, he was 40 years old at the time, and he had seen Mandy that day. You know, she disappeared. And he come forward at the beginning and told police that while he was backing his car out of his driveway, he saw Mandy run by.
Mm-hmm.
And after she passed his property, he then told police that he saw a dark-colored pickup truck drive by in the same direction that Mandy was headed. since there was nothing strange about this at the time, Paul, he didn't think much about it because,
Well, you don't ever.
you don't ever think nothing bad. So when the police asked him what kind of truck it was, he didn't remember. So
Yeah, all he knew was a dark color. He didn't even know what the color actually was.
Mm-hmm.
He just seen the truck go by.
Yep.
And when he said he didn't know what kind of truck, he didn't remember, they kind of looked at him a little bit sideways with this, like, wait a dang minute, is he trying to put us on a trail somewhere else? Maybe this guy's in on it.
Or just trying to insert himself into the investigation.
Yeah, trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah. So to ensure they could test his DNA against what they found, they got a court order and demanded him give a sample of his blood.
Well, they asked him first, and he said no.
They did.
Yeah. So they went and got a court order and come back.
And they did take his blood and they tested, but he didn't match anything as far as the DNA that was found on Mandy.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So they stopped pursuing him as a suspect.
Well, I guess.
Mm-hmm. But, during this time that Mandy was found, there was a potential suspect in this case, and this was Gary Ridgway.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's known as the Green River Killer, but at the time they didn't know who the Green River Killer was.
Yeah, he didn't know if he was killing them Green Rivers or not.
Mm-mm. He's also thought to have killed a couple of women in the 1990s, and there aren't any confirmed murders by him in the year 1989 when Mandy was killed. So, they really don't know if he was...
They don't know where he was because they don't have nothing to base it off of.
That's right.
Yeah.
But during this time of Mandy's investigation, they had about 8,000 tips come in, and they were following up on.
Is that all?
Yeah, this is a lot for this little town, yeah.
Well, you think they probably didn't have a whole lot of police force there, did they?
No, not...
I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And especially if you think you're going to follow up on all of them.
So I'm sure...
They had somebody weeding.
Yeah, and they got all these tips coming in, and I'm sure they get...
Overwhelmed.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. Not having many people on the force, probably.
8,000 tips from 300 people.
Yeah, that's a lot, dude.
Yeah. Which, I know there's more than 300 people in the area, but I just keep referring to the town number because that's tiny.
Yeah. So on December the 4th, 1989, this was 10 days after Mandy was murdered, they had a memorial service which was held in her honor at her old high school auditorium.
And that's because it had to be there.
Yeah, there was over 900 people showed up.
Yeah, close to 1,000 people. So there was no church or anything in the area that would have been even close to accommodating what they needed.
Yeah, her high school had just under 400 students at the time.
There you go.
So yeah, this is where they had to have it.
Mm.
But one of Mandy's biggest influences during her high school career was her basketball coach. His name was Jim Freeman. And she'd actually wrote him a nice letter after graduation thanking him and telling him how much he inspired her.
Yeah.
And he was actually the one to give her eulogy at her memorial. And Mandy's family and a bunch of her friends and classmates also spoke. And then everyone joined in to sing Amazing Grace. Man, that had to be tough. I can't even imagine. But the years passed, man. And there was nothing.
Nothing.
It just went cold. There was no answers to anything. No tips came in, and it just dried up.
Mm.
But the police, they never stopped trying.
No.
Mm-mm.
Give them credit for that, that's for sure.
Yeah. So we're moving up to June of 2013. That's how long this case went cold for. And there was two women. Their names were Heather Backstrom and Mary Lee Anderson. And these two moms, they live near Bellingham, Washington. And Dale, they decided to take their kids to a splash water park.
Yes, water park.
Yeah. And actually the water park was Birch Bay Water Slides.
Yeah.
And they were just hanging out, having a good time. And they were just a couple of moms. They were chatting about their families, their lives, their hometown of Acme, and just talking it up a little bit, really.
Yeah, they wasn't there together. They really didn't know each other. They was there chatting it up.
I think they maybe knew of each other, but they wasn't. They didn't have a friendship or nothing. They were just there.
Right.
Yeah. But both of these women that were talking there, they both had gone to Mount Baker High School, the one that Mandy went to. Mm-hmm. But like I said, they barely knew each other, and they got to talking about their kids and the water slide. And this one, somebody had brought up Mandy Stavik.
Yeah, I think it was actually a whole different, another mother had actually brought up the name.
Yeah.
And then as soon as these two had it, they kind of looked at each other and It's kind of weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, because they were talking about Acme and stuff, and that's when Mandy was brought up.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ladies said, "I know who killed her."
Yeah.
And the other lady said, "I do too."
Which just blows me away.
Yeah, it's just out of the blue. And this is when the Anderson lady named Tim Bass.
Yep.
And he was actually another Mount Baker graduate who was a friend of her husband.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And she got talking about how she had come across Tim Bass.
Right.
And she was saying that Tim Bass had stopped by her house one night. It was a couple years after Mandy was killed. And he had knocked on the door, and he said he had been out hunting and needed to use the phone.
Yeah, to call his wife.
Yeah.
To let him know he was all right, whatever.
And,
check in, I guess.
But she was at home with her infant son.
Mm-hmm.
But she let him in the house, and he got on the phone and dialed a number, but she could hear the receiver.
She could hear the doo-doo-doo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The call not going through. Your call cannot be connected.
Can be completed as dialed.
Yeah, that's what it was saying. Everybody's heard that back in the day.
Yeah, if you're old and had a landline.
Yeah. So this meant that he was just dialing a non-working number and lied.
That right there would set panic, because you know he's full of it right now.
Yeah, lied about needing to make a call.
Yeah, because he ain't called nobody.
She'd let his guy in the house, man.
Yeah.
So then he walks through the kitchen and back to her bedroom.
Yeah, where she was.
Yeah. And this one he told her, he said, I used to drive by your house, and I've always been in love with you.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make love to you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and that's when she was seized with fear.
Oh, yeah.
Because her husband was away, and she was alone with a man she suddenly saw as a predator.
Yeah, and she's there with the baby.
Yeah.
Trapped.
But he kept trying to get her to go in the bedroom with him. And finally she told him she's going to call the police, and somehow...
Yeah, she told him she wanted him to leave, and he wouldn't leave. And then finally, when she's like, listen, I'm fixing to call the cops, and then finally he left. But, yeah.
Yeah.
It took that to get him out of the house. That ain't weird.
It got him out of the house.
Right.
Man. And then the other lady, her last name was Backstrom. She got to telling her story, and it was pretty uncomfortable for her. She said the same man, Tim Bass, just months before Mandy's murder, this when she had been only 15 at the time, and
Yeah.
Tim Bass was 21.
Right.
And it was after a softball game. And this one they were riding in a truck driven by another young man whose name was Dan.
Yeah, they was going to Dairy Queen.
Yeah, they'd been out going to Dairy Queen. And at the time, they were just friends, and Heather sat between Dan and the driver and Tim in the front seat. Now, this is when Tim Bass started flirting with her.
Creeper.
Yeah, he would talk about her eyes, how beautiful they were, and he also took a pin out of the little cup holder there, and he started rubbing it along her legs and up her knee.
Yeah, she said she had on a pair of cut-off sweatpants. So, yeah, he was creeping her out here.
Yeah.
You think about it now, she's only 15, this dude's 21.
Yeah. And she said it was pretty uneasy, but she
Right.
just played along knowing that, her friend Dan was there, and he would prevent Tim from doing anything.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah. But she said this incident always stuck out in her memory.
Well, they know he's a creeper.
Yeah.
So basically, when they both said, we know who did it, they didn't really know who did it. They just knew that this guy was a creeper and had done some pretty terrifying things to them. And so they're like, it had to be this dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it just fits.
That's right.
They just had a gut feeling.
Yeah.
But they had never said anything because they said that, in such a small town, you can't really just go accuse somebody of something you don't really know. Even though in your heart you know it's true, it's just hard to do that because, if it's not true, then there you look like trash. But I don't know, it's kind of a what do you do kind of situation,
Mm-hmm.
Especially, I think of this Bass guy, I think he had a pretty prominent family too.
Yeah.
So if you go to naming names like that, then you better be ready to back it up.
Yep. This one, the ladies, they went to a detective there that worked for the Whatcom County Sheriff's Office, and he was actually one of their classmates, and told him their suspicions about Tim Bass.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened from this point on, man, it gets twisted even more. The cops, they had Tim Bass in their sights, but they were still trying to find out who this DNA matched.
Right.
And they actually decided to go around and collect DNA samples from males around town. And they even got to looking into people that had moved out of town during that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because, you never know if he's somebody that's still local had moved away, to get the heck out of Dodge or whatever.
Yeah. So they actually found that Tim Bass had moved out.
Mm-hmm.
He'd moved out of town. And Tim's full name is Timothy Forrest Bass. And just a little bit of background on him, he was known as a loner in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And he graduated from Mount Baker High School in 1986. So this was 3 years before Mandy did.
Correct.
And at the time of her disappearance, he was 21, and he was living in the same house he had grew up in.
Which was just right down the road from
Mandy's just right down the road.
House. Yeah.
Just a few properties down. And he was living with his parents and his younger brother, Tom. And we mentioned Tom earlier.
Yeah.
Because Tom Bass was one of the guys that Mandy and her friend Yoko was going to hang out with the night that she was murdered.
Yeah, they was going to go to the movies or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's how that connection is right there.
Crazy.
But for some reason, during all this time in this investigation, they never looked into Tim and his family when they were questioning people.
Right, yeah, because, they said, once, as time goes on here, and we've been, it's been several years now since the murder, and it's, each time that they never let this case go. Props on that. And anytime new detectives would come up or come in, they would go over this case and look at it with fresh eyes and start, trying to do something else. And that's when they said they kind of looked at it and they're like, well, we've looked at it and we looked outside and looked to the left, but we need to look around and go back over stuff and who they talked to and who they didn't talk to and all this stuff. And that's when they discovered that they had never even been talked to. But like I said, that was a kind of a prominent family there. So they just didn't really want to, they just assumed that, they wouldn't have nothing to do with it. Mm-hmm. Even though they were that close, they never talked to them.
Yeah.
Which blows my mind.
Mm-hmm. So they were focused on Tim Bass. And in January of 1990, Tim Bass had married a woman he had met at a grocery store. Her name was Gina Malone. And shortly after they were married, they moved to Everson, Washington. This is about 20 miles away from Acme.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't move far away, but he just got out of town enough.
Yeah.
And Gina, she was actually from Acme too.
Mm-hmm. And
was a year younger than Mandy.
Right.
But she didn't know her personally, but she remembered seeing her around school.
So Mr. Creeper graduated 4 years before this girl.
Yeah. But their relationship wasn't really good.
No.
No, Gina even stated that
later she stated.
Yeah, when they were married, it was very sudden.
Well, the thing was, they were planning on having a summer wedding, right?
Yes, they were.
And then after Mandy was killed, he comes up and in the winter.
Yeah.
They're just like, okay, we just got to go get married. He's like, what? Yeah, at the end of the year, right after Mandy was killed, 1989. It's like, well, we got to go get married or whatever. So he just moved up. They went and got married then and then moved, I guess.
Yeah, in that January.
Yeah, and she's like, she didn't know why, but he was just ready to get married, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of weird.
They got married, moved out of town.
Moved out of town.
Yep.
What do you think? What do you know?
Mm-hmm. So the cops, they were focusing on Tim Bass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Gina even said later that anytime they were watching TV or something or any kind of detective show, Tim would always make the comments of, he would never make a mistake.
Right.
To get him caught.
He wouldn't catch me. Yeah.
That's what he said.
Well, I mean, that's kind of creepy because you know more now, but don't we all say that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, look how stupid they are. They've done this or done that, but yeah. And, given circumstances, I'm sure it's a lot more creepy for her.
Yeah. And Gina even said that whenever they would get into a disagreement, Tim would shove her against the wall and come at her with his fist. And he had a very violent temper.
Yeah.
And
what a guy.
Yeah, in 2010, Gina filed for a domestic abuse protection order against Tim.
Mm-hmm.
And this wasn't just for her, but also for their 3 kids they had together.
Right.
And in this, the details of this protection order, Gina stated why she didn't feel safe around Tim and included his reactions and comments to murder shows.
Yeah, well, slamming her up against the wall and coming out with a fist probably don't help none.
No, it doesn't, huh?
Trash.
So the police and the cops and stuff, they went to Tim's house.
Mm-hmm.
They went over there and they asked him about Mandy Stavik's murder. And since, he was living in Acme at the time it happened. And he told the police he didn't know anything about it. and they didn't even remember her name.
He's such a dumbass. They said he walked up, he opened the door, and they were talking to him about it, and he just kind of looks up at the ceiling, kind of rolling his eyes around like, let me think, and he's like, they're looking at him like he's stupid, when they bring up this name, and he's acting like he's stupid, and then he goes, oh, that's a girl they found in the river.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on, dude.
I mean, everyone knew this case. The murder was big news there in this little town.
Huge news.
Yes.
So that right there don't like a damn flag.
There was not one person in Whatcom County who didn't know about this case.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just actually...
Even though 20 years had passed.
It don't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, people still talked about it.
It'd be like somebody here didn't know who Aisha was.
Yeah, very true.
And this is a lot bigger place.
Yeah. So at that point, police, they felt really good about Tim as a suspect, but they didn't have enough against him to get a search warrant or a court order to collect any of his DNA.
Well, I agree. All you know so far is he's just creepy and he's mean to his wife and his kids.
Yeah.
She said she even left one time, and she had went and got this, the thing here, and then started divorce proceedings, and then he got a hold of her and told her that you can do what you want. I'll go up and talk to the judge, and I'll let him know. I'll lie to him, and I'll get the kids, and you'll never see your kids again.
That's what he told her.
And so she said, well, basically knew that he could do what he said he could do. Like I said, prominent family, get stuff done, right? And so she said, well, when it comes to my kids, I'll just go back and take it. I'm not leaving my kids. So she went back to him.
Mm-hmm.
That's sad for women to have to do that.
It is. Live like that.
Yeah.
Yep. So the police, they had to get smart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For years, Tim had been working as a delivery driver for Fran's Bakery in Bellingham.
Fran's Bakery.
Yeah, this is where it's a bread and pastry manufacturer there in the Pacific Northwest. And the police, they decided to pay his work a visit.
Mm-hmm.
And when investigators got there, they told the bakery manager that one of her employees was potentially under investigation for a case they were working on.
Right.
And they wanted to see if they could ask her some questions about him and possibly get something with his DNA on it.
I think they wanted to go in and maybe wipe down the trucks and this kind of stuff. And then she told them that you need to talk to HR about this.
That was above her pay grade.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the lady's name there, the manager there, her name was Kim Wagner.
Yes.
And she told investigators to contact the HR, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
But
and HR said, nah, you get a search warrant, come on back. We're not just going to give you information on our employees without probable cause.
Yeah, just willy-nilly.
Yeah, I can't just hand them over to you when I don't know anything.
Yep.
You're here fishing.
So the police, they were stuck in the same position they were before.
Yeah.
So a few years passed.
Years, man.
I mean, a few years passed. And the police, they tried to continue to find out what happened to Mandy. And this included trying to find everything they could on Tim Bass.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one evening, Kim Wagner, this is the manager at the bakery, she was at a bar with her husband and some of her friends when Mandy's case come up in conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And when Mandy disappeared. And Kim was also living in Acme. And she was actually a year older than Mandy and remembers being pretty affected by this this murder.
It's tragic, man.
Yeah, and someone in the group mentioned that Tim Bass lived on Mandy Street when she was murdered.
I bet that just sends shockwaves up that girl.
You know it did. And this made Kim start to wonder why the police came to her work a few years earlier.
Right.
And it's at that point,
a bunch of bells went off.
Yeah, she knew she needed to dump something. And soon after, the police returned to the bakery and asked Kim if they could access Tim's delivery schedule.
Right. They were wanting to maybe follow him around and then see if he threw something away or something. So that way, well, if you can't let us go in and check his truck, can you just at least tell us what his route is so we can follow his truck? And so they were going to set up surveillance on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what they did.
Mm-hmm. And they didn't get anything from that either.
They felt like Tim was very responsible.
Super, super careful.
Yeah. So Kim took it on herself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy, he said he drove a truck, so he wasn't hanging out in the office anyway. He'd come in and get I guess his truck was loaded, or he loaded his own truck. I don't know how it works at the bakery. But anyway, he wore his gloves all day long, come home, anything he was left in his truck, he would take the trash and take it with him, and didn't never leave anything to go. So he was either super clean or super careful.
Yeah, when he was at the bakery, he didn't leave any trash.
Right, no. Mm-hmm.
He was very, very particular about it.
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of odd if you think about it, because still at this point, I guess DNA is probably more prominent at this time point than it was in the murder, because it's been several years. But still not a major thing like today.
Yep.
But he's still being very conscious not to give up stuff.
But just keep in mind, the police still didn't have a warrant.
Oh, no.
And they couldn't ask Kim to help them with to collect the DNA.
No, that's illegal.
Yeah. But she was very adamant about doing it voluntarily.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, when she came in and asked about, the route, she asked them straight point blank.
Is this about Tim Bass?
Yes.
And Mandy Stavik.
And then I think the detectives were like, whoa, she just figured this out already. So then, basically like we said before, when they were talking about the bar, and it really hit her hard about it, and so she knew she had to do something.
Yeah.
Or whatever she could do.
Mm-hmm. So Kim, she started watching Tim very carefully at work.
Yep.
Every time he'd come in, she would watch him.
And she was slick, too. She would go in there and make sure trash bags were changed out and a clean bag in there every time in the mornings or whatever he was going to be. She was trying to stay on top of things.
This Kim Wagner's a hero, man.
Yeah.
Because Tim was at the office one day, and he grabbed a plastic cup from the water cooler dispenser, and he poured some Coca-Cola in it, and then threw the cup away in the trash and walked out. And this is when Kim gloved up and ran to the trash and grabbed both the can and the cup.
Right. Yeah, this was kind of odd to me because I was thinking that he just had some water and then later had a Coke, so I don't know. I didn't know he poured the Coke in the water cup. But
yeah.
Anyway, so they had two pieces here.
So at this point right here, when she done this was 2017. This ain't very long ago.
It's 30 years after this murder.
Yes. That's a long time, dude.
Yeah.
So Kim Wagner brought the Coke can and cup into the police, and they
voluntarily.
Yeah.
That means it's not illegal.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just hand it over. And they were excited, man.
Oh, yeah. Over the moon, I bet.
Yeah, they sent both these to the lab for testing, and they waited for the results. And when they came back
3 months later.
Yeah, 3 months.
So, it's kind of weird before you get to this. Before, these other guys that would come up and they'd say, well, they've done that, but they were cleared. They done that, but they were cleared. There's never a timeline on that. So I wonder how long it was taken then.
I don't know.
Because, when you just read it, it sounds like we find out tomorrow. But on this one, that they finally got this good stuff here. It was 3 months before they heard anything.
Yeah.
So, because she said, when she, it was kind of funny, the interview with Kim here, she said, when he threw that cup away, there was a good many people in the office, and she was just flipping out, like, how am I going to get this done? She finally just going to grab it up and throw it to her desk for a second.
Man.
She just said, as soon as I saw it, I knew it was showtime, and I had to get it done. So, and then when she took the stuff to the detectives, and they're over the moon excited, and now you got to sit here and wait for 3 months to hear anything.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, that's a long time to hold your breath.
Yeah, exactly.
So when the test results came back,
guess what?
It was 1 in 11 quadrillion match to the DNA that was found on Mandy's body.
Right, a match.
So
how many is a quadrillion?
It's like 15 zeros. Whew. Yeah. So police immediately found Tim Bass, and they arrested him for Mandy's murder.
Right.
And apparently Tim didn't show much emotion during this arrest.
No, he didn't until they told him they had his DNA.
Yeah.
And then he got more flipped out about how'd you get my DNA than he was about being charged for the murder.
Yeah, how'd you get it? How'd you get it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I guess he was being so damn careful, and then they got him anyway.
And when he was arrested, Tim was 49 years old.
Mm. So he'd been getting away with this for 30 years.
Yeah, and the last thing he had told the police that he didn't know Mandy at all,
right.
let alone her name.
Yeah, he remember she was the girl they found in the river.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
But during his interrogation, he told them that before Mandy died, he sort of changed his story a little bit. He told them that they'd been having a secret relationship.
Yeah.
And the reason he had told the police about this is because he didn't want them to think that he was guilty of something that he wasn't. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And he told them that they were having sexual relationships.
Well, the reason he's doing this because when they got him, they said they were asking these questions, and he said he didn't know her. So, you ever kissed her? No. You ever kissed her? He never done this. And then he's like, no, this stuff. And then said, well, how did your DNA get inside of her? And then that's when he's like, wait, what? And then we got your DNA. We found your DNA inside of her, blah, blah, blah. And then that's when this big story changed to we was having a secret relationship.
Yeah.
So, right there, he's lying because he's just trying to cover up, just to be covering up, trying to cover his bases like, well, I got to make up something To me, is what it sounds like anyway.
Yeah, he told investigators that during a mountain bike ride there in his hometown of Acme, he was with his dad, and they came across Mandy while she was on a jog. And this was probably about 6 months or so before she was murdered. And this when Tim and Mandy got to talking. This is what he was telling the police officers.
Yeah.
And he said from then on, he continued to see her on the trail while he rode his bike and she jogged.
Yeah.
And from that, they started seeing each other casually.
Casually.
And then she went off to college and they broke things off. And but, you know, Mandy did have a boyfriend, this Rick Zender at the time.
Yeah.
That when she was supposedly seeing Tim.
Yeah.
This when Tim Bass told investigators that on the day Mandy disappeared, she randomly came to his house and they hung out for a little bit. And the only other person at home with Tim was his dad.
Yeah, but who by now was
dead.
Right.
So he had no backup on that.
Yeah, can't go ask Dad, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was there. You know, so this Thanksgiving, you know, her friends and everybody's home, she's going to take a run, but what she does, she just runs over to my house.
Yeah.
That's what he's trying to say.
Yeah, so the police felt he was dragging his dad in the story, knowing that they couldn't follow up with him at all.
Of course.
Yeah.
He's not a real stupid fellow here, because, I mean, he's been covering his butt for 30 years.
Yeah, and he's trying right now.
Yeah, right now he's just scratching and digging for anything he can get a hold of.
He's in the hot seat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Severely.
But they knew right away that Tim and Mandy didn't have any kind of relationship, because Mandy was she was a beautiful girl.
Yes.
Very beautiful. We'll post pictures of her.
Yeah.
But Tim wasn't her type.
No.
Mm-mm.
No, she was go get it done, work, run, you know, like I said, just work and bust your butt to make yourself better, blah, blah, blah. And he was like total opposite.
Yeah.
You know, and he was like, you know, those ladies said that freaked him out, the ones from the water park, you know, said that Tim just thought that women were beneath him. After that breakup with, I think he's like, act like he was going to shoot himself one time when he got broke off from this girl. So he just kind of changed after that, where he thought women were beneath him and all this stuff, and that's why they thought he acted like this. And it's just even Kim at work said he referred to her as woman. He didn't ever call her by her name. It was like woman
or ma'am or nothing. It was just woman.
Yes. So I don't know. It's just he's just that kind of guy.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny at this point them 3 women is basically taking him down.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
They are.
Yeah, the water park ladies and his boss.
That is crazy, man. But now, the day Mandy disappeared, Gina, this is Tim's wife, she told the police that Tim was at his house all day, and she was
there with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she had seen Mandy running by the house, too.
Correct. Well, you know, when he came home and told his wife, "Oh, yeah, I need to tell you something."
Yeah, you're not going to believe this, but...
Yeah, we was having a fling.
Mm-hmm.
He was, eh?
Yeah.
Like what? Where did this come from?
Gina also stated that Tim told her that she had to lie to say that they were together that day to help verify his own alibi.
Yeah. But, you know, she did say that, you know, that's bull. I wasn't even over there that day. Didn't see him at all when it come right down to it. She lied about the whole thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because one of the witnesses that took the stand during Tim's trial was his brother Tom.
That's right.
He was Tim's younger brother, and he was on the stand telling his story, but Tim had asked his younger brother Tom to lie for him, saying that he had been with Mandy also.
Yeah, trying to make it look like she was getting around.
Yeah, kind of a loose girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was trying to get everybody to lie for him.
You know, and you remember that her and Tom were actually really good friends, and they were the ones that was going out, you know, to the movies that night. Mm-hmm. So he actually did know her. Now he's trying to paint her a bad picture, and he's not going to do that. He's not
going to have nothing of it.
He's a good dude.
Yeah, I think he was. And Tim even tried to get his mom to lie for him.
Yeah.
Saying that his dad had something to do with it.
Yeah, can we just blame it on Dad?
Yeah, since he's dead. You know,
he's thinking their DNA will be close since his dad, and maybe they'll just get off that way.
Yeah. And
then he also said that his brother had told him that he had heard him talking to his mom and said, you know, they're all trying to pin it on me. They're going to put this, and I got to find a strong alibi, or I'm going to prison. Y'all got to help me out. Maybe you can tell them we were Christmas shopping, Mom.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no.
Yeah.
But man, can you blame it? Can you believe that? It's trying to blame it on your dad that's passed away.
Man, he was trying anything to get out of it.
Yeah, can we tell him Dad raped her? I mean, come on, dude.
What a piece of shit, man.
No doubt.
Yeah. So after the trial, the trial lasted a couple weeks, and the jury found Tim Bass, who was 51 years old at the time, guilty of first-degree murder of Mandy Stavik. And he was sentenced to just 27 years in prison for his crimes.
Right.
And the eligibility for parole after 24 years served, meaning that if he lives that long, Tim Bass will get out of prison sometime between the ages of 75 and 78.
Right. Yeah, they couldn't get him for premeditated, so that's about as much as they could give him as far as time, because they didn't want to go in and try to get a premeditated conviction, because they just didn't know if they could get that or not.
Yeah.
But they thought for sure they could get this, so that's what they did.
But Tim never took any responsibility for what he did to Mandy.
No, he still says he didn't do it.
But we've got this audio clip right now from his statement in court after the trial and after he was sentenced, so we're going to play that right here, Dale.
I would first like to say that I'm 100% innocent of this crime. Furthermore, I don't believe I received a fair trial. In saying that, though, a better man in me says I should say very little today and give this day to the Stavik family. Sir, I would like to address one thing. I love my father. He was my best friend. We did everything together. He died in an accident on February 17, 2002, and I have not been the same since. I gave his eulogy. I wrote his obituary. In my garage, I made a kind of memorial to him. For my ex-wife, under oath, to get on that stand and say, I tried to blame this on him. That is hard to take. I have never been arrested before. I've never been unemployed. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. I've been married for I was married for almost 30 years. I raised 3 great children, 2 of them on the autism spectrum. While this investigation was going on, I actually delivered to this jail twice a week until 2016, when there was route changes. I think that says a lot right there. They're saying that I was in fear, scared. I delivered to this jail. I've tried to be respectful and kind in my year and a half that I've been here. It is very hard to do when you're being accused of something like this. I will continue to be this way. This is just the way I am. I wish no ill will towards anyone here, not even today. But I am having a hard time with this. That's all I have to say.
All right, yeah, he's just a piece of shit, man. Yeah. But he is in prison.
And those women took him down.
They did, man.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Just think about it. It might have got solved eventually, but the happenstance of those 2 ladies just happened to be sitting in the grass that day at the water park watching their kids, and somebody brings up the name. Pretty much busted this case. It pointed them in the right direction and in the help with that Kim Wagner.
And they both had a bad experience with Tim Bass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's trash.
Yeah. Piece of crap, man.
You never know what little bitty piece of information will bust the case wide open.
That's what I'm saying. That's what we say. If you know anything about any crimes,
right?
I mean, if you think it's small, tell somebody. Yeah. What was really cool about this too? The day Tim Bass was arrested, man, and they went to Mandy's mom, Mary.
God, this gives me cold chills.
This was Mary's birthday.
Her birthday.
When she found out who the killer was of her daughter.
And the bad part, it's a good part and bad part, because they walk up to her, knock on the door, she comes to the door and opens it. Late. They go, Mary, we got him. And she goes, what? We got him. Got who? She had put it so far out that she wasn't even thinking that they were talking about that they had got the guy who killed Mandy.
Think it'd ever be solved.
Right.
After 30 years.
But you think about it, she's already lost 2 kids. Yeah. You know, I mean, this poor lady.
Yeah.
But what a hell of a birthday present, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Man. Crazy, man. But, it took some time and some DNA and some people in the town to bring this together.
Yeah, I think that trial was a couple weeks, but they only deliberated, 9 hours or something like that?
About a day, yeah.
But they did say that they did at first, there was a couple of them that didn't really know what was going on there. They didn't want to get anything wrong, but I don't think it took them long to figure out this guy's trash.
The defense tried to play it as
God.
Yeah, they tried to play it like, they did have a relationship.
Well, they were saying that even though you got DNA and semen, DNA don't mean murder.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
Yeah, so I don't know. So I guess they're just saying they were having their little affair and then she run away.
But Tim still thinks he's innocent to this day.
Well, he says he is.
Yeah, but he's still in prison.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he done it.
Yeah, I don't believe you can argue with him 15 zeros.
Nope. Not that DNA. It don't lie, man.
No. And that's where we were talking about earlier when we started going into this, and like, well, maybe he didn't kill her, maybe he raped her. I think, I would like to know what what vehicle he drove. Was it that truck? Because I never heard anywhere in any research what his vehicle was at that time. Could that have been his truck that the guy saw driving by? Did he go by, did he kick the dog, throw on the back of the truck, do whatever he want to do, or was it a van, a car, what? We don't really know what happened because the only person that knows what's happening ain't talking and says he didn't do it.
Yeah, and he still ain't talking.
Right. Because that's why I was thinking maybe because she had all those briar scratches on her, I thought maybe she got away and took off running and maybe ran into a tree or something and fell in the river. But like you said, I think that 3-inch place on her head was on the back of her head. So I would say he probably had a gun. I'm thinking, because otherwise she'd outrun him.
Yeah, pistol whipped her and knocked her unconscious.
Right.
And she drowned.
Yep.
And he threw her in the river.
He put her in her face first and she drowned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, dude, that is the murder of Mandy Stavik, man.
That family, man.
Beautiful girl, man.
Such a tragic.
Life gone.
Man, that family has took a beating, dude.
They have. But anyway, that's the story, dude.
All right, man.
We're going to get out of here, man.
All right, let's roll.
We want everyone to be safe. Please be careful and always be aware of your surroundings.
Because the next episode could be about you.
This is the Crack House Chronicles.